The 70s was a golden age for black music. Funk was expanding across America. Basslines shook the dance floors, so music evolved into something smoother, harder, and more rhythmic. And at the center of that musical revolution stood one legendary company, Motown. But beyond the superstar names the world remembers, there was groups whose stories slowly faded into the shadows. Bands filled with extraordinary musicianship, powerful grooves, and untapped potential. One of those groups was a band that blended funk, soul, disco, and sophistication into a sound that still resonates with true music lovers decades later. They had talent, the look, and the grooves. The centerpiece of today's video is all about Platinum Hook. Now before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more uploads. Now without further ado, let's cue that intro. By the mid-70s, music was changing rapidly. Soul music was evolving, disco was rising, and funk music had become one of the most powerful forces in the black culture. Artists like James Brown, George Clinton, and Earth, Wind & Fire had expanded the possibilities of groove-based music. Meanwhile, record labels were still searching for fresh acts capable enough to dominate radio and dance floors. And inside Motown, a new generation of groups emerged. Among them was Platinum Hook. Originally, the band was called the Soul Dukes. And after vocalist Tina Stanford joined the group in 1976, they later changed their name to Platinum Hook. Early members was Robin Corley, Victor Jones, Bobby Douglas, and Glenn Wallace. It was after Tina joined the band that they secured a recording contract with Motown Records. Other members included Kevin Jasper, Skip Ingram, and Stephen Daniels. The band entered the Motown's music scene in 1978. Being signed to Motown came with enormous opportunity, but also enormous pressure. Motown was one of the most influential record labels in the music industry. The company had already produced icons like Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and The Temptations. By the time Platinum Hook arrived, Motown was adapting to the changing sounds of the late 70s. The label wanted funk, dance, modern production, and crossover appeal. Platinum Hook, they fit that vision perfectly. The group blended polished arrangements with infectious grooves and dance floor energy. Their sound carried elements of funk, soul, and disco. The group had musical chemistry. That authenticity became one of their greatest strengths. The group went on to record 3 albums for Motown, starting with a self-titled album that was released in 1978, followed by the album It's Time that was released in 1979, and lastly an unreleased album. The band later left Motown and signed a deal with RCA Records where they released the album Watching You. The group's most notable hits during this time was the songs Standing on the Verge, Give Me Time to Say, and Words of Love.
Don't let me spend my life writing love songs. Just let me.
What made Platinum Hook stand out was the band's versatility. They could create upbeat dance grooves, smooth soul records, and rhythm-heavy funk tracks that captured the spirit of the late 70s. For many funk bands of the 70s and early 80s, success came with challenges that the public rarely saw. Touring was exhausting, financial rewards was often uneven, and record labels sometimes shifted the focus quickly when the trends changed. Groups that failed to produce major crossover hits could easily become overlooked. Even talented artists struggle to survive in a constantly evolving industry. Despite their musical strengths, the band never received the full promotional push or mainstream exposure that some other Motown acts enjoyed. And as the 80s approached, music trends began to shift again. Electronic sounds increased, synth pop emerged, and traditional funk bands found themselves competing against a rapidly changing commercial taste. Despite their live success, Platinum Hook had little success in the music business. Platinum Hook's horn selection outperformed that of Earth, Wind & Fire, as did the vocals and rhythm section. The band's talent ensured they constantly had employment, and they shared a bill with legends such as the Commodores, Kool and the Gang, and Sister Sledge, for whom they all provided backup for, among many more stars. In the early 80s, they collaborated with Italian diva Loredana Bertè on a tour of Italy in the US. The band held a residency at the Cellar Club in New York City from 1977 to 1984. When the band was not touring, you could find them blowing off the roof at a packed nightclub. The band performed extensively in the United States, including performances at the Cool Jazz Fest in the years of 1978, 1979, and the earlies of the 80s. They also performed at the Billboard magazine performance at the renowned Apollo Theater in 1979 alongside the Delphonics and the Joneses. For many groups, survival became difficult, and unfortunately, Platinum Hook, they disbanded in 1984. Their arrangements felt sophisticated without losing energy. The rhythm sections were sharp, the vocals were smooth, and the grooves carried that unmistakable Motown influence. But Platinum Hook entered the industry during one of the most competitive periods in music history. Disco dominated the charts, funk bands was everywhere, and the radio stations constantly chased the next big trend. Despite their talent, Platinum Hook struggled to break through at the highest commercial level. Still, among dedicated funk fans, the group earned deep respect because true musicians recognize quality when they hear it. But while commercial success can fade, authentic music survived, and that's exactly what happened with Platinum Hook. Over time, collectors, DJs, and hardcore funk fans began rediscovering the group's catalog. Crate diggers searched for rare vinyl copies. Old school soul fans continued playing the records, and younger musicians started to appreciate the craftsmanship hidden inside the music. Because Platinum Hook represents something important, an era when bands still relied on real musicianship, real grooves, and real chemistry. The records carry warmth that many modern productions struggle to replicate. And that timeless quality allowed the music to age gracefully. One reason why groups like Platinum Hook remains important is that the funk music became the foundation for future generations. Hip-hop producers sample old funk grooves. R&B artists borrow arrangements. Neo-soul musicians studied the feel and instrumentation of classic bands. Even listeners unfamiliar with Platinum Hook was often hearing echoes of their era sound across modern music. That's the hidden power of funk. Its influence spread quietly through decades of music history, and bands like Platinum Hook helped build that foundation. They may not always receive mainstream recognition, but their fingerprints remains inside the DNA of black music itself. Today, Platinum Hook represents something larger than commercial success. It represents an important chapter in funk history, a reminder that some of the most talented artists never received the fame that they truly deserve, yet their music survived anyway, because real grooves never disappear. It waits to be rediscovered. And for long-time funk lovers, Platinum Hooks remain one of those hidden gems that separates casual listeners from true music historians. Now, before we go, I have a question for you all. What is your favorite song by Platinum Hook? Before I go, I want to take a second to promote my Discord. Over here, I provide a safe space for my supporters. We discuss music of all genres. You can provide me feedback on recent uploads, etc. If that interests you, then go ahead and check me out. The link is in my bio. While I have y'all here, If you would like to support the channel further, then feel free to become a member. By doing so, you help make these videos possible. I thank each and every one of you who supported me along this journey.